All right, first and foremost, just want to let everybody know that we finally got power back. We got it back late Saturday afternoon, thank goodness. Ended up having to throw away a bunch of stuff in the freezer and the refrigerator, basically everything that we had. But I'm happy to just have power back. My kids and I actually stayed in a hotel Friday night because it was so hot. They could not tolerate sleeping in the house. So I'm glad that we actually have things back on track now. But now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the legend of Moll Dyer. Now, the legend of Moll Dyer is a story of witchcraft and what happened to an alleged witch in St. Mary's County, Maryland in 1697. Now, as the story goes, Moll Dyer was an elderly single woman who lived in a small hut on the outskirts of town to the south of what is now called Leonardtown, what is a road now named Moll Dyer Road. Now, keep in mind, though, at the time that this town, Leonardtown, didn't actually exist. Now, as a spinster, it was said that she practiced some customs that were foreign and unusual to some of the county residents. And as we've seen, especially with here in South Carolina and Virginia, some other areas that I've talked about, usually these women practice a form of herbalism. They could have been midwives, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm assuming that that's what she was as well. Now, of course, this being the 1690s and her doing this type of thing, people automatically assumed she was a witch. If there was a famine, she was a witch. If their crops didn't do well, she was a witch. If everyone got sick, of course, blame her because she's a witch. Now, the biggest panic came in the winter of 1696 when a massive disease, quite possibly the flu, came through during a record-breaking winter, and a lot of people died. And naturally, Moll was blamed, and it was told by everybody, rumors started spreading that she was definitely a witch and she was causing all of these people to be harmed. Now, as the winter became harsher and more people started to unalive, rumors only began to spread, which made it very hard for Moll to live. The people in the town were so afraid of her that they even became too scared to tell her that they wanted to leave. So naturally, a mob forms instead. Now, instead of, being normal human beings and talking to her, because I guess that communication's out of the window, the townspeople decided to descend upon her cabin in the middle of the night in the dead cold of winter and set it on fire, which caused her to flee. And she ran into the woods. They assumed that that she was gone, excuse me. And it wasn't until a few days later when a gentleman was out in the woods looking for something else that he came across Moll's frozen body on the rock. And it's said that when they removed her body, her hand and foot imprints were still left in the rock, and you can see it even to this day because the rock has been moved to another central place for people to visit. But of course, people still attribute the rock to a curse that she left behind on the residents who chased her out in the first place. And, if they did chase her out, then who's to say that they didn't deserve to have some type of curse or fury thrown upon them? I mean, really. And something that I often think about this is like, these are just the stories that we know of. And while it's not that many still available, how many other small towns, how many other people, especially prior to the 18th century, so around the late 1600s and stuff, how many people were continuously harmed by this witch panic? How many people whose names have been lost to history and their stories will never be told because there's no records of them? I'm pretty sure that it's quite a lot. You have black, white, all of these people who practice things that were native to their country. As I said, a lot of these people were either German or Dutch immigrants, along with descendants of Africans, or at that point, there were Africans who were brought over, who practiced this type of herbalism or work because that is what their local communities did and that's what they were used to. And because it was deemed strange or people didn't know what was going on, oh my God, it's automatically witchcraft. And that's the stuff that really bothers me today, even when we look at not just witch panic, any type of widespread hate campaign that is driven off of fear. And at this point, it's really just becoming white people's fears that are being used, weaponized, and used to harm marginalized communities. So